Welcome back to This is a Commander channel, where this is a Commander channel, and today I'm going to talk about Commander, tough rules, and cool interactions, episode 103. Today's episode is going to take a look at one of the best new protection spells in the game that we got from the Doctor Who set, and it is an instant called Everybody Lives. Or should I say, Everybody Lives, because it has an exclamation mark on it. And there are a lot of comparisons for this card to Teferi's protection, and some people consider it to be better than T-Pro, so let's get into what it actually can and will save you from, but also the things that it doesn't save you from, as well as the things that it does not stop from happening. Everybody Lives says that all creatures gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Players gain hexproof until end of turn, players can't lose life this turn, and players can't lose the game or win the game this turn. I'm not going to focus on the first two sentences of the card of creatures gaining indestructible and hexproof and players gaining hexproof, as those effects we see on all sorts of cards that regularly see play already. So I think that most players already know what limitations that those forms of protection have on those sorts of things. If you still have questions though, like if someone casts Everybody Lives in response to somebody casting a both modes Jessica's Will, or something like that, then please do ask those questions down in the comments, and I can answer them there. So I'm going to split the last sentence into two parts for this episode. Part 1 involving the loss of life bit, and then part 2 involving the no win or no lose bit. And for a lot of these things, I will be making the direct comparisons to T-Pro and how things turn out differently between the two spells. So let's start with the no life loss part. First things first, we need to take a look at damage, as I imagine in most casual games of Commander, this spell will be cast to save the caster from a lethal swing of creatures or a lethal burn spell. In the comprehensive rules, we can see that section 120.3a states that damage dealt to a player by a source without infect causes that player to lose that much life. So basically, damage causes loss of life. Pretty straightforward, but what does that mean for all sorts of things in Magic? Let's start with payments. If you're unable to lose life, then that means any payment you have to make that would result in your life being reduced cannot be made. For example, fetch lands like Flooded Strand require three things. You must tap it, sacrifice it, and also pay one life. And because you can't lose life, you cannot make that payment. Similarly, cards like Yawgmoth, Thran Physician, and Gix Yawgmoth Praetor have life payments, and you would not be able to do that. This is not the case for things that just involve you losing life as a result. So something like Phyrexian Arena would still let you draw that extra card during your upkeep, and now you wouldn't even lose that one life. And your Vampiric Tutor can still happen. You can search for your card, and you don't lose that 2 life. Make sure to look for the specific word being used for pay rather than lose. This is actually identical to how T-Pro stops life payments from happening. Now let's move on to damage. Damage still happens to players when Everybody Lives resolves. If you attack with a creature that has a Sword of Hearth and Home equipped to it, that creature will still deal damage to the player and trigger the sword. It doesn't stop the damage from happening, just the loss of life that would have resulted from the damage. If you deal damage with a creature that has lifelink, you will still gain that life. Unlike with T-Pro, that stops you from changing life in either direction. You can't gain or lose. If a player hits you with a Blightsteel Colossus, then your Everybody Lives will not save you from the 11 infect damage that gives you 11 poison counters. Similarly to this, if you get attacked for a second hit from a Yargle and Multani, setting your commander damage total to 36 damage, then your Everybody Lives will not stop you from accumulating that additional combat damage. And it is at this point that some of you are probably saying that it doesn't matter that everybody lives doesn't save you from infect or commander damage because it stops you from losing the game. And yes, you are correct in that having 10 or more poison counters or having 21 or more commander damage will not cause you to lose the game when that spell resolves, but the effects of Everybody Lives ends after that turn, and in Magic, it's not the action of reaching 10 plus poison or 21 plus commander damage, but just having that amount when state-based actions are checked. So on that next turn, the next time that state-based actions are checked, the game will see that you still have the lethal amount of poison counters or the lethal amount of commander damage, and there is no longer the effect from Everybody Lives keeping you from losing. This is different than with a T-Pro, as it actually gives you protection from everything, and protection will stop the damage before it's ever done. And the damage must be done for infect and commander damage to happen. And finally, cards like Door to Nothingness and Thoth's Oracle do get stopped by Everybody Lives, as they attempt to make you lose right then and there as the ability resolves, or cause the player to win right then and there as the ability resolves. It's not a lingering state that sticks around each time state-based actions are checked all throughout the rest of the game. A T-Pro would save you from Door to Nothingness, as it requires a target, and the protection from everything would break that target. However, a T-Pro would not save you from an opponent's Thoth's Oracle win, because it doesn't have to target you. So what are your thoughts on Everybody Lives? Is it better than T-Pro, or is it worse? I don't think that there's any worse or better between the two of them. They're just different and will work similarly in some situations against some board wipes and some targeted kill type spells, but in other situations they may come up short, and that makes them both nice. I feel like I will use T-Pro more often, as I will use it to save my board from Cyclonic Rifts and Farewells and Toxic Deluges a lot, and these kind of board wipes just don't get saved when you cast Everybody Lives. Also, Everybody Lives is still pretty dang expensive. It hasn't been out as long, so I haven't had as many chances to trade for it. But every chance I do, every time I see it in somebody's binder, I will snag a copy, because running both of these is just nice to protect your board and yourself. Anyhow, that's all I've got for today's episode. As always, I hope that all of you have found this video to be entertaining at least, and I hope that a few of you have even learned something about the crazy rules in this great game of Magic. Have a good one. Ta-ta.